Hello and welcome back. This video is going to be filled with secrets. Well-kept secrets, and not because they're of Masonic descent or anything like that, but they're well-kept because really you have to become a professional to really understand them. So even if you hear them when you're kind of starting out as an artist, the secrets don't read to you. They don't register. You have to do the work, put it in, and then eventually these secrets. And what is the secret today? The secret is to making art you love. The art you love, okay? And there's gonna be lots of secrets, and to miss no further secrets, please like and subscribe, because subscriptions help me so much, and it just takes a second. Thanks. Okay, so I made a little list of secrets, and again, I think the reason that a lot of these things fall under the category of secrets is not that they're attempted to be, or they're mystical, or you only learn them through your teacher, your sensei, something like this. No, these are secrets because you have to explore art in order to discover them. Because they're secrets because they cannot simply be told to you. You have to uncover them. And all artists can point you in the direction. They can say the exact words that are containing the secret, but until you've gone out and you've experienced these things artistically, specifically is what I'm talking about, until you've experienced them, they are elusive. Okay, so I made a little list. This first one is good. This first one's really good, but I will be clear that they get better as I go. So sort of by the sixth one, it's getting into fine detail, but really it's the most kind of important stuff. But without the foundation I'm going to go through now, we can't get to that importance and stuff. So yeah, it'd be great if you stuck around, watch the whole video. That would be so cool. Okay, 1. Dreams should drive you. Okay, what does that mean? Dreams should drive you. And how is that going to relate to art that you love? Well, for that, you have to get even more poetic and look at, for me anyways, this is what brings this idea through, is Rumi. Rumi's a Sufi poet, wonderful guy, I imagine. We don't know much about him personally. He's from the, 15th, 16th century. Pardon me if I'm wrong. If anyone knows the right year, let me know. But what the Sufi poet Rumi says is, let your longing be your guide. I find that really cool. Let your longing be your guide. And he's applying it to all life, but he was a poet and an artist, and, realized that poetry and art are the fundamental pathways to spiritual truth. So, let your longing be your guide. I really, really like that. The things you want to create, those are the things you should create. Those are the things you should make, because your love is what's going to come through. And I'm not saying if you don't love a commercial project that you've been given, or if you have an opportunity to do a project that isn't totally in your wheelhouse, totally within your joy zone of creating art, then I'm not saying screw those, don't do those. What I'm saying is start with your longing. And when you find yourself in those situations, there will be tools to allow your longing to come through. And we're going to go through those right now. So it's really fun. I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm laying out all the secrets all at once. Yeah. Okay, so what do we got here? So yeah, let your longing be your guide. This is really good because this will allow your true nature to come out. If you just let the things you're longing for, you'll allow your true nature to show itself. And it's sort of a lofty idea, your true nature. But your nature as a person, physically we have our nature, our hair grows, our body grows, our body starts to shrink and ache, whatever the nature of our bodies, still part of us as a whole holistic being. But there's also a nature to your mind and to your creative energy and to your spirituality. And these all come together, and working with your dreams, working toward your dreams, working to your longing, letting your dreams drive you, this is what will unlock that true nature of who you are. And that's your more sustainable self. That's the self that can keep going, keep creating work, keep being more of a professional, or even more, keeping more of a spiritual artist that's out there and giving good, amazing ideas, good, amazing art to the world to make people feel less alone, to make people feel happier, and to feel like you are being helpful. That's, to me, awesome. Okay, so I know there's lots of thoughts on this. I'd love to hear your debates. art is a conversation that goes on and on and on into eternity. So we got all eternity. Let's chat it out in the comments, No, I don't know, a bit of a joke. Okay. Number 2, and we touched on this a little bit. Commission something without too many sacrifices. Okay? Commission something without too many sacrifices. So there's a balance between needing to commission work for either your own personal joy, because you want to be creating professional work, or for your own finances. Maybe you realize you literally can only make art, nothing else is going to do it, and you got to just make art. Whenever you can, don't make too many sacrifices when you're commissioning a new project. You want to kind of say, I can do anything to a client, but really every time you agree to step into a zone that you're not necessarily drawn towards, the work will suffer. And what will also suffer is your love for that work you're drawing then, and then therefore the knock-on effect. A viewer, someone who looks at your work and loves it, they want to see that every piece came from the bottom of your heart. And even, a piece that most people would find trivial, you took the time to make, you took the heart to make. And, no one's saying art is easy. So it takes a lot of heart, Okay, but this is a counterpoint to what I was just saying, that committing something without too many sacrifices, because all boundaries help art thrive. Okay, more boundaries on your art actually lead to more potential for thriving. Okay, so working within certain boundaries, even if they are uncomfortable boundaries, is still an amazing playground for you to explore new things and make great art, and not get too depressed by the fact that, okay, I don't love aspects of this. I don't really care about having to draw this big scene or having to make it more clear or put a product right at the front. But it's the things you do care about that will shine through those boundaries. Someone has to be in the front. This unfortunately is a promotional drawing you're doing. So you'll need to put, the product at the front, and you'll need to put people in the background, and we want to see people that are happy. Oh, but you don't love drawing happy people. All of that is a lovely tension that can create lovely art. So boundaries create great art, but in order to maintain doing art you love, it's good to be mindful and to minimize the amount of sacrifices you have to make. Okay, so it's like even something as simple as the medium you're working in. Like if you don't like, I talk about visual arts, obviously. If you don't like working in pencil crayons, and it really isn't, and they're saying, oh, we want kind of pencil crayon style, and then you realize, well, I do love working in watercolor washes. Are you looking for pencil crayon style, or are you looking for like a hand-drawn style? Maybe they're looking for pencil crayon, and then, okay, that's something I just have to do. I have to work within that boundary. But maybe they'll say, no, watercolor's fine, or show us a sample. You show them a sample, they love it. So finding out ways for you not to make the sacrifice. I go into more about this as to why you might be put into these situations a bit further. So let's keep moving on. Okay. This one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. And all I've written down here is expect less. That doesn't sound right, does it? Expect less? We're dreamers. We dream, we create, we're artists. We look, up to like a vast universe and say, oh, maybe this is the answer, Maybe the answer is blah, 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 blah. We do our drawings, our calculations, our dances, our choreographies, and we all come to the same conclusion. The answer is love. We know that. But it's still wonderful to explore that, to explore how we constantly come to the conclusion that, life is love. Okay, that's me anyway. So if you disagree, again, just put me down in the comments and tell me your approach. Art is a conversation that's been happening for centuries, millennia, millions of years, thousands of years, and it's going to keep happening. It is a single conversation, and that's what's so beautiful. Okay, expect less. What does that mean? I think there's this idea that you get a good commission. You in my field, in publishing, I always imagine, okay, I'll publish a book and that's it. I've made it. Because I'm so talented that they've commissioned me, then whatever I make is just going to make it because they saw it, they commissioned me. They must know I'm a great artist. And therefore, anything I draw is going to be a success because I've been commissioned by a publisher. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Publishers are human and they work with instinct and intuition, and often instinct and intuition are and invariable results. If they could every time just create a book that would sell bazillions of copies, they would, and every single publisher would have bestsellers every single time. But it's not that. The fact is, they start with a kernel, with a little idea of, wow, okay, they look at your work and they think this could be scaled up into a book. I hope when I commission the author, this will be you, I'm commissioning them, I'm their client essentially. I would like them to create this kind of story. And I assume that they're going to understand what it means to create a book that's a bestseller, blah, 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 blah. That's up to you as the author. And that's what I mean, expect less, okay? Because you have to make it all happen. So if you're going in and expecting, I'm going to do my first book, it's going to bring in enough money that I can become a full-time author, even if it's minimal amount of revenue, it's enough that I don't have to do anything else, that I can wake up and draw and write and live the dream. And it just most likely isn't going to happen. It's not worth it. I'm not saying don't attempt that. Every single thing you do, you should attempt to make it the greatest piece of art that's ever existed, because that's all artists have done. They've attempted to make it the best piece of art that's ever existed because they know in their heads what it is. And that's what makes every piece of art the greatest piece of art that existed. I know it's a bit of circular logic, but we're working in art here. So we're not working in definitive. So there's contradictions in all this. And okay, so expect less, and that way you can do something you love. Now we get to it. Expect less so that you can focus on the love. So if you commission a book and you're saying, okay, I don't need this book to bring in all this money. What I would like is, things you can achieve. So critical success, obviously not within your hands, but when you must be critical to be a good artist because you've had to read and absorb so much work and figure out what works and what doesn't in order to love art. Obviously you can love art without critiquing it, but to be an artist and someone who absorbs culture, you're naturally going to critique. And through that critiquing, you figured out probably what makes a good piece of art. So make good art, but don't expect financial payments. Aim for sort of peer support and peer word of mouth. Aim for word of mouth, because if a book is good at its core, one person will pass it on to another. It has to have that goodness. That's what will see it through. And if not, you die trying. And then, I think I was doing this. Like there was a third thing, but I don't remember. Sorry about that. So, okay, so it's a lofty one. Expect less so you can do more. Okay, so if you're saying like, look, if you want to make a really successful, financially successful publication or piece of art or piece of dance, all this sort of thing, these all cross apply. I'm just talking about it from my background of art and graphic design and comics and fine art and that sort of thing and publishing. But if you want to make a good piece of art, you can do it. Oh, did I lose my train of thought there again? Okay, what was I saying? Expect less so you can do better. Okay. Don't expect to make a best-selling piece of art unless you work within the format, unless you do another One Piece or another Twilight or another, I'm trying to think of what's very successful in other art forms, but you pick it, you're in musicals, you got your Hamiltons, and what else do we got here? In poetry, you got your, I'm trying to think of a modern poet that's majorly successful, but perhaps that's like a modern comic book artist that's majorly successful. It's kind of, an oxymoron, at least in the West. But Inua Ellams is an amazing poet. Okay, Inua Ellams, amazing modern poet. Okay, so expect less so you can do more. What I mean is, if you're going to make a bestseller, you're going to have to try to repeat what's out there. It's too much of a gamble just to say, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to hope it's a bestseller, because often it's either a bestseller or it just doesn't sell at all. And to be honest, it's 1 in 1,000 that hits the bestseller mark, because even if the book is good, often there's a lot of things in the way, like your publisher, to getting it out to an audience. So you have to start by having this amazing book. So whether you want a bestseller, you have to aim for a bestseller. But if that's aiming for a bestseller is going to deter your love of the work, of the art. We're bringing it all back here, okay? It's going to deter your love of the art. And therefore, that's a sacrifice. So if you expect less, if you expect your book to come out, do moderate, and even expect it to do less than moderate just for safety, but then agree with your publisher that it's going to be this kind of book that you really believe in, that you really love, then you got that balance, okay? You know, it's a tough one maybe, but that's it. You know, money and publishing are very elusive things. If you want to kind of like, you know, rake in money and also get a good hourly rate when you break down your annual income, publishing and comics is not the thing. You know, if you're maybe a reality star and you publish a book, okay, great. You can make a gazillion, bazillion off of it. But yeah, okay. So we're down to another point. And this point's going to come us back to something we talked to before. Understand when the commissioner doesn't understand art, okay? And have conviction in how you work, okay? So understand when the commissioner doesn't understand art or the process of making art. Go into that. Get a sense for them to say, okay, you know, like what I like to do, the few illustration commissions I've done, and very few because I don't pursue that at all, I would be very clear. These are 5 examples of my work, and I want to be clear, I can't work outside of this style. And if you have a style in mind, can you send me an example of that style that you've seen? And I can let you know whether I can work in that style because, and I can work in that style. That's bold. You just want to take every job, but if you produce something out of your style and it's bad, it's going to be hard to include that in your portfolio for your next job, right? Like if you have a great piece of marketing material that you did and it also represents you as an artist, that's golden. So the people commissioning often don't understand this. They just think that illustration is illustration. They often think that like illustration is everything. Like, oh, I saw you could draw. That means you can probably lay out a whole book, or you could design or typeset or all these things, and as I'm sure many people know, that's just not the case, especially in the arts. If you want to get really good at something, or as most things, if you want to get really good at something, you got to specialize and focus. So you got to give all your time to illustration, to drawing, to anatomy, say for comics. That's the kind of thing you need to do. Whew. People commissioning don't get that. They really don't even know. They don't even trust their own taste. So they don't know what's good or bad because they do know, but they don't have the confidence that we have. Everyone knows what's good and bad when they start to distill what they think that is. But a lot of people commissioning are just landed in this job. They were in publishing and now they're working with illustrators. They don't even know that much about illustration. And now they're working one-on-one with illustrators, commissioning and telling you and stressing you out and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, have conviction in how you work. That's what I said at the end there. Have conviction in how you work. It's a tough one, but if you just know how you work, then it's going to allow you to make art you love because you're going to be within your boundaries. But I need to stress this right now. Put everything down. Put that coffee down. No more sipping any more coffee. Okay. Sorry, I know it's gross to hear someone drink. Okay, put it all down because this is the absolute truth. Do not choose your art style too early. Do not just say, this is what I do. I only have one art style. I do this kind of thing. Don't choose that too early. Wait. Work on every single medium you can, everywhere you can in your sketchbook. Don't do that professionally until you feel confident in these styles. But I'm telling you, if you've done less than 300, 400, 500 drawings individually, you have no idea what your style is, okay? Just because you like to draw things and you draw 10 images and those are kind of cool, that is not your style. Because if you're an artist, you're going to draw thousands of works. And that's how your style comes through. So know your style, know how you work, but do not set that style in stone too early. And do not set it in stone forever. Of course, you can shift and change. You got to let your longing be your guide, as we talked about. Okay. So that's it's all over the place, isn't it? It's like, don't draw things you don't like to draw for a commission project, but draw things you're not comfortable with drawing every single day. Know your style. Don't get stuck in your style. It's beautiful. Okay, and we're in the arts. We're in the abstraction here. This is not cut and dry. A does not equal B in the arts. One does not equal C in the arts. Okay, so it's actually one does equal C in the arts. This is what we're talking about here. Okay, very good. So expect less. Understand when the commissioners do not understand art. Okay, and I think I have just about 2 more here, and then a little one at the end that's super important, but probably takes a longer video, and I'm going to make a longer video about it, and that's about how to get a literary agent. So stick to the end because I'm going to go over that. Okay, I know I'm pausing here, just taking a little breather. I'm trying to get my thoughts together for you because things are getting more complicated. After you pitch a project, then the fun starts, okay? So after you pitch a project, then the fun starts. And what that means is when you're pitching a project, there's potential for fun, but it's not the creative fun you're used to. When you are pitching a project, you become a marketing person. Before anything, you have to pitch a product. Your book is a product. Your art is a product. Anything that's requiring an expense of someone else is a product. And you don't have to go nuts with it capitalistically and rake every dollar in. But the people who are putting up the money to produce what you want them to produce, what they want you to produce, the people putting up the money, they at a minimal want to get that money back. And a lot of arts, that's enough because we don't expect much. And if we can just not go broke and volunteer our times, then that's a success. And that's a big problem about society in general, which we can talk about, and how, when there are great leaders, there's great art. But again, those are other videos. So when you're pitching your project, it is a product. You got to convince the person that they're going to minimally be able to get back the money they put in, because they're publishing books. They're working in publishing, which means they don't have much money. It's not an industry you go into where you're just raking money. You can throw it away. It seems like the film industry. Sometimes they can bring out a $140 million film and Paramount Pictures still exists. Like a $400 million film that flops and somehow it doesn't close the company. But publishing is not like that. Every dollar is too tight. We've definitely undervalued the investment in education in this world. And and that's whatever. The world's still a beautiful place. I'm not complaining. It's still wonderful. It's just complex, okay? Okay, so you need to start, when you're pitching, it's not going to be as fun to think about what you're making. But once you've locked it in, once you've pitched the idea, they love it. And then obviously once you commission the idea, maybe this is more of the thing, once the project is commissioned, then it's fun time. Because then you get months ahead of you of just being alone, making these creative decisions. A lot of established artists use the time to kind of change what the actual original project was and kind of squeeze in the ideas, pitch it kind of like, I know Childish Gambino, the rapper's like that. He was saying when he was pitching Atlanta to Fox, he pitched it as a completely different story that's still kind of there. But then after they said, okay, he just went nuts with it. And, it's a gamble, but you're not gambling with their money necessarily because they know you're coming in with a creative edge. So you can't just throw their money away, but there is a balance between saying, trust me, I can take this project further, make it better. And that's where the fun comes in. Because if that's not fun for you, like absorbing creative decisions, making hard creative decisions on something you love, that's you're passionate about, that's like you have creative investment in, then the arts aren't for you. They're just not for you. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're getting down. I think that's it. Learn to set boundaries was my last one. That's an obvious one, and I already kind of said it. But I guess in general, learn to set boundaries for when you're being commissioned, what you're working on, but then also for yourself. Learn to set boundaries in terms of time. If you're not loving a project, then doing a bare minimal job on that project is potentially an option to find the balance. You need the money. Maybe they're not paying you really decently. It's a kind of so-so job. You're not going to spend more time and reduce your hourly wage by going on and on about it. But there's so many pieces of art that are simple, that take these very simple lines, very simple things that would not take very much time, but are beautiful. So set boundaries. Say, I'm not going to, this piece is not going to be to the level of detail and rendering or practice or rehearsal that my other pieces are. This piece is going to be a quick, tight piece. But if you're such a good artist, which we all are in our hearts, because we haven't practiced enough. We all are when we practice enough, but we're all great artists. And if you are a great artist, then the art you work with will be great. Here's a great piece of simple art. Here's a great piece of detailed art. There we go, great piece of detailed art. Okay, so we've come to the very last point that I mentioned. How to get a literary agent and why getting a literary agent will unlock doing the work you love. I'm going to go over it very briefly. And then, let me know if you'd like a longer video on it, because I would definitely want to do one. Let me know if you have a literary agent and your experience of getting one. That would be obviously super helpful for me, and also the people reading the comments would just really get into that. So, how to get a literary agent is a bigger topic. Why you need a literary agent in order to unlock doing the art you love is why we're here. And I keep talking about literary agents again because I'm in books, but there's tons of different agents, reps, and all these sort of things in different arts and mediums. They do the emotional labor of commissioning your product, your book. They do that emotional labor. That's one big thing. There's a lot of back and forth. Publishers can be convinced to try something. You can negotiate with them on your advances, or your royalties. You can do staggered royalties. There's all these little things that makes a project more appealing to a publisher that an author's not going to not necessarily know, but a literary author who's constantly working on these things is going to know where and when to push. Okay, and I'm going to go into a lot more about this, specifically literary, but this is, they're basically your bodyguard, your emotional, spiritual guard, and they can also ask questions that you just don't even know you can ask. So I'll give you a really quick example. My first book, 1 Year Wiser, 365 Illustrated Meditations. I'd been pitching a different book for a number of years. Eventually I got my literary agent, Samar, and then she tried to pitch that book around, didn't take off. It was, I was so surprised as a youngster that she even apologized for not being able to commission it, which was wonderful because I thought, why would anyone publish anything I make? But then she tried something. She had a meeting with just one publisher that we were narrowing in on and said, look, do you want to work with, my name was Mike back then, but I'm just going to refer to myself as my name now, which is Kay. Do you want to work with Kay? And they said, yeah, we definitely do. Okay, well, what is it about this project? And she said, this project is not right. There's not enough of an audience for this kind of project. It was a biography of a Zen poet that, is an obscure person to begin with. But then my agent said, well, what would there be something we could commission now for you to work with so Kay could get his first book? And the publisher said, well, I'm thinking, I've been wanting to do like a 1-a-day book for a while. One of those, like, you open it up, you read the inspiration books, maybe do that. And so I was waiting for the call. I knew I was at work, and my agent called me and said, look, okay, something's happened. She said she wants one of these kind of style books, a 1-a-day illustrated book. What do you think? Do you think you can do it? Right. I was desperate to be published. I remember this, and I'll go into it more. I said, of course I can do it. I'll do whatever, and maybe it would have backfired because of all the things I've said, and it was hard, but overall it was a good project. And I said, for sure, I'll do it. And I hung up the phone. I was at work, but I just walked out. I was in Soho, London, right on, I can't even remember the road, but just outside of Gosh Comics, where I was working at the time. And I walked out to get the call. And when I was walking back, 15-second walk, I already had the name for my project and everything. So that was really cool. And that project went on, and it did become a bestseller. It did allow me to become a full-time author for a period of time. Unfortunately now it's out of print, but will be brought back from another publisher. So lots of stuff to go into there. But if you've made it to the end of the video, then, these are all just bonus details for you. Double thumbs up. Okay, so I think we did it. I think we explored why, how, and if you should be making art you love. And the answer to all of it is yes, make art you love. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And there's going to be some struggles along the way because, as the saying goes, no one gets through this life unscathed, and no one gets through a piece of art unscathed, But it's the scrapes and the bruises that we wear with pride, I suppose, because it means we went there. We went into the heart of this thing where we acquired these scrapes and these bruises and this battering, and now we have the the physical, mental receipts to show for it. And I promise you that any struggle you make while you're making art, the joy that will come from completing your art and seeing it come to fruition will pay off all the sacrifice, will leave you with more joy, more happiness, and more contentment than you ever could have imagined. So make art you love, die trying, and also just be easy on yourself and go slow. Did you notice in any of this, I didn't say make thousands of pieces of art in 1 year? You know, you do have to draw hundreds of pieces of art to develop your style. You do have to, just to bring it out to dance, everything. You do have to do 100 pieces of 10,000 hours, as they say. You got to do it all. You got to just blah, 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 everything. But you can take your time with it. Who wants to look at art that's been rushed? Who wants to look at art that's been forced, Don't sit around too long. Don't let the years go by. But at the same time, when you're working on something, really work on it. Take your time. Really go through it. I think that's where we'll wrap it up. Please like and subscribe, or, even just give me a little thumbs up in the comments. But really just, if you're still listening, thanks. Thank you for hanging out. I've done a few videos now, and I think I've really come down to figuring out how I want to make this page. I thought it would be about comics and other people's comics and stuff to draw attention, because these comics have a lot of fans, and I can help to bring those fans, and we can share our love of comics, art, manga, fine art, all these sort of things. But really, at the end of the day, my art is my everything, and therefore I want the channel to be about my art as much as possible. So a video like this, if you could give it a like, it would help it. And if you can watch some of my other videos, that really helps as well with the algorithms and everything. So take care, go out there, make art, and, I don't know you, but I love you. You're wonderful. I'll end on that note.